The following is a presentation of TFNN. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now, Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Everybody, it's Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien here with Mindful Living. We want to help you get healthy, feel good, and live life to the fullest every single day. And today we're talking about a practice that helps us do that, and that's mindfulness. So it's all about being present in the moment and living life to the fullest. So I'm excited to talk about this with you, Tom, because we both practice this, and I think that we have some insight to share with our listeners today, and we want to get you guys in on this conversation. So if you guys are out there practicing mindfulness and you have any questions or a story to share with us, we would sure love to hear it. You can give us a call at 877-927-6648.
No doubt.
So mindfulness is taking the world by a calm storm. Calm storm, we'll call it.
Right. And where we're going with this, folks, this was on the cover of Time magazine this week. And as Allie said, Allie's an amazing yoga teacher, meditation teacher. She's been into quite a while.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Yeah, I'm working on it every day still.
Right. And the working on it is really... some days are so much better than other days.
Totally.
But you know what I've found? This is blowing my mind too, folks, okay? I've found that the more mindful I get, the faster time goes. So I'm saying to myself, oh, no. No, I'm not kidding. So this morning, I was totally mindful. No, yesterday morning. Totally mindful. But guess what? Like 4 hours just went by. Now, I know I got a lot done, but it's really interesting. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, how does this really work?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what happens, what seems to happen, folks, is that you're into, what you try to do with mindfulness is try to stay into one thing at a time.
That's right.
You know, without the distractions. And you know when you're there, and you know when you're not there.
Right.
You know.
With practice. That's the thing.
With practice.
Yes, because oftentimes a lot of us are walking through life without mindfulness. When we don't really know we're not there. Do you remember our conversation we had with Dr. Ellen Langer from Harvard?
Yes.
She said, when you're not present to know you're not present. And so ultimately sometimes people can exist in this state of mind where they are just completely unaware of themselves, unaware of emotions rising in themselves. And we're going to talk about how mindfulness practice helps us become more self-aware. And we'll talk about some of the benefits of the practice that scientists are now proving today, as well as give you some tips for how to incorporate mindfulness into your life. But you're right, it's really interesting because sometimes in the beginning, it's just about realizing how little attention we're actually paying to the moments of our life. So sometimes that in itself can be really profound. And, you know, it's interesting. Mindfulness is literally, as we said, exploding. It's on the cover of the current Time magazine. It's literally in the media every week. I feel like everybody is starting to practice or become curious about mindfulness. You're seeing corporations adopting it. You're seeing parents and teachers, even school children, are being taught mindfulness today. So the question is why? You know, what's driving this global mindfulness movement? And I think it's really interesting to think about that. So we're going to talk about that.
Well, you know, in that context, you know, Google, folks, has a huge mindfulness deal happening. And you know that Google is, of course, one of the best companies in the world.
Right.
And in order to get anything done, you need focus.
Yes.
Now, focus, and this is why I think one of the main reasons that, you know, that it's coming to the forefront right now, is that we all have so many gadgets.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
And we love our gadgets.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no two ways about it. We absolutely love our gadgets, right?
They're not going away.
No. And then the phone gadget is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Because the phone gadget now is turning into a computer. It's turning into the media, and it absolutely is, depending where you are in the context of digital, it is getting to be just like the spaceman. I mean, you can grab, well, you can, I can, there's many people who can grab it and feel like you're right there.
Yeah.
You're hitting that phone.
Yes.
And it's, it's there 24 hours.
24 hours. My husband and I were just talking about this today because, we were saying anybody over 30 probably remembers the time when you had a phone literally hanging on the wall in your house, and
Right.
you could choose whether or not you were going to answer that ring.
Yes.
And today we're all so constantly plugged in and readily available. You can work anywhere from your couch. You can, check your email while you're watching your favorite football team, or you get that constant reminder of the text or the email or, a call. And so you're constantly being bombarded with all this stimulus, advertisements everywhere. And all of these distractions, if you will, are driving a type of society which is over busy, constantly doing something, and as we said, constantly being distracted. And
constantly being distracted by things you don't need. There's a deal inside there.
Oftentimes,
that we are doing, like me cleaning up my emails.
Right.
It's like, oh, really?
Is that a priority right now?
8,000 million emails. Right?
Exactly.
Angie in the den from Colorado is saying to be mindful, I have to stop trying to multitask so much. Let's talk about that, because I know that's in some of your notes, right?
It's totally. Angie, thank you for writing that. It's so true that all of this constant bombardment, and just being constantly plugged into a number of devices is driving a multitasking society. And let's face it, we're all guilty of it. Sometimes we feel we're so busy that we try to multitask because we feel like we're going to get more done, when in actuality, studies show multitasking is a detriment. So there is a recent study that was done by 3 Stanford scientists back in 2009 that showed people who tend to multitask have poor memory, harder time switching between tasks, and a harder time focusing. So there's this beautiful Buddhist saying that I love, and I just try to remember when I find myself, texting while driving. Let's face it, we're all working on that one. Or just answering a phone call or responding to a text while I'm having a conversation with my children or my husband. The Buddhist saying is, if you're eating, just eat. If you're walking, just walk. And what's interesting about focusing in this way, which is a big benefit of mindfulness practices,
Sure.
as you said,
Yes.
building the muscle of concentration in our mind, you actually improve the quality of the work that you're doing.
Building the muscle
Of the mind.
Focus in the mind. I like that.
Yeah. And you get more done. When you stop multitasking and you focus on one thing at a time as best you can, you actually increase your productivity.
So if folks want to start, so how would they start?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Right? Because,
Yeah.
there's plenty of folks out there that say, okay, great, you guys are talking about mindfulness.
Yeah.
Now, how do we do it?
How do we do it?
Let's get mindful about how we start to do it.
Exactly. Mindfulness is, a really old science. It's thousands of years old, and there are many tactical practices that fall under the umbrella of mindfulness. I'm sure you've heard of some of them. Meditation would be a really key practice to help facilitate the state of mindfulness. And before we even get to how you do it, let's again define more clearly what mindfulness is, because I think a lot of us who are familiar with mindfulness understand it's being more mindful in life. For some of us who aren't even there yet, it's a state of mind that we're trying to cultivate through mindfulness. And this state of mind facilitates a way of being in the world. And the reason all of us are looking for this, is because I feel like our society right now is more stressed out than ever, busier than ever, as we said, and some might say unhealthier than ever. So
Right.
people are looking into these alternative type practices, these holistic practices to improve our health and wellness. So if that sounds good, regardless of where you are in your life, even if you feel healthy, surely when we look at our life, all of us could find a couple things, one thing even, upon which we would like to improve. And so in that regard, mindfulness becomes really interesting. It's kind of like an experiment for your life. It's a journey you can go on to get to know yourself better and understand how we approach life and the experiences of life.
Yeah, and what's cool, folks, is this, and as you know, when you're trying to do it all day, guess what? You know, it's not going to happen all day. But the bottom line is that it does happen, and when you're into it, as Valerie had just said, is that you start to get to understand yourself. And it's just kind of knowing that, oh, this is pretty cool. I can lay back.
Yeah.
I can hear what someone's saying.
Yes.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
See it, and really understand what they're saying. And what I've seen happen is this, is that what you're not doing is that you're not just firing back.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, well, I think it's this. It's like, oh, okay. So I see what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. You know, and you just kind of sit there thinking about it.
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool.
You're present.
Yeah. It's the presence. Yeah, the presence.
This is one of the best ways to incorporate mindfulness into our lives. And, you know, you're talking about being present when you're having a conversation with someone. As we said, I feel like when we're describing what mindfulness is, one of the best ways to understand what it is to look at what it is not. And one of my favorite examples to use is when you're having a conversation with someone, you know, suddenly your mind checks out and you can see that person's lips moving, but you can't hear what they're saying.
Right.
And then they say, what would you do, or what do you think? And you
have
to admit that you weren't listening. Your mind was someplace else. You weren't being mindful, present in that experience.
Right.
So that's a really good tip. You know, when you are having a conversation with someone, one way to practice mindfulness is set down the cell phone, turn away from the computer or the television, and listen to that person with not only your ears, but your eyes and your heart and your entire being. That's one way to practice mindfulness. And in fact, a big benefit of that practice is improved relationships. We're going to be joined later in the show by a relationship and dating expert, Rachel Dack. Who's going to talk to us about how she's helping her clients, both individuals and couples, incorporate mindfulness into their relationships to improve them.
Sure.
So, you know, another thing Angie said when she texted us is, stop multitasking. That would be a lovely way to just reduce some of the stress in your life and improve your productivity. And then a couple other techniques I would highly recommend right away is slow, deep breathing. There's so much science. Don't you just want to sit up tall? Just think about that for a minute. If you just close your eyes, sit up tall, or if you're driving, don't close your eyes if you're listening to the show.
Slightly.
Focus on driving, present, being mindful on driving.
Without texting.
Right? If you just think about a slow, deep breath, you know, and how soothing that is. There's a direct correlation, yoga teaches this, between what's happening in our mind and what's happening in our breath. When your mind is racing, your breath shortens. You know, you feel tichtness in your chest, your posture might change.
Right.
So you just take a slow, deep breath, and suddenly, for even a split second, the clouds just part.
Well, you know what's so cool is that, and there's no doubt, that the breathing with the meditation, you know, there's two different issues, folks, but there's no doubt that just the breathing itself gets you mindful.
Yes.
It absolutely, and folks, there's no wrong way to do this. This is what's so cool about it, right? There's no wrong way of doing it. You know, you breathe, and whatever comes into your mind, let it come into your mind.
Yeah.
And, you know, let it go. It's letting it go is a trip. At the beginning, letting it go is a trip, right?
You hit the nail on the head that, you know, there's not necessarily a wrong way to bring your mind into the present moment, and that's what mindfulness is. And as Dr. Ellen Langer said, you don't necessarily need, you know, she's been studying mindfulness for 30 years.
Yes.
And she said you don't necessarily need to practice meditation to reach this state of mindfulness, this state of presence, if you will. You could just work on focusing on anything in your environment in that moment, like your breath or like something, your partner, you know, something that we normally treat as very mundane, repetitive task in our life. Look at it in a new way. Become completely immersed and curious about that event, and look at it through what the Buddhists would call beginner's eyes, without judging it. So what you hit the nail on the head when you said, let it go. Sometimes we observe things, and maybe they might be painful. I think sometimes there's this misconception about this practice that life's going to be hunky-dory and everything's going to be beautiful flowers and we'll have no problems if we could just be mindful. It's quite the contrary. Mindfulness does help us maintain a state of equanimity and balance through the ups and downs of life.
Right.
But it doesn't mean life's always going to be beautiful. Another basic tenet of Buddhism is that, you know, life is challenging. So being able to experience even the challenging moments in a really full, present way, and then let them go, not hold on to them, not be sticky with them, helps us then achieve a higher level of overall happiness over time.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
No, it's huge.
In Tom's words, it's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. And well, you know, it's amazing. What you just brought up, I'm not kidding. Because since I've been doing this mindfulness deal, some days I'm saying to myself, I told you yesterday the time was going so quick, some days I'm saying to myself, oh my God, I can't believe, you know, the amount of productivity that I want to push out.
Right.
And it's like, man, are you kidding me? So and what I mean by that, folks, is this, is that, yeah, it will get pushed out, but sometimes I'd rather get it pushed out like I'm pushing out now, and I understand what's getting pushed out versus just getting pushed out.
Right.
You know?
Yes, yes. So with that, we're going to take a cheers to your health, and hope that you'll come back for more conversation on mindfulness, how to do it, how to incorporate it into your daily life, and for our conversation with our relationship specialist. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Cheers.
In quiet markets, investors search for new trading opportunities. We'd like to introduce you to a new product that provides opportunities even in flat markets. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a new and innovative Chicago-based exchange registered with the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their trading platform. Nadex never charges a fee to use their platform, which even includes real-time charts and full customization capability. Nadex's unique short-term binary options allow traders and investors to capitalize on strategies even when the underlying markets are quiet. Nadex's innovation has allowed them to come up with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com, or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
No matter where you listen to TFNN programming, we want you to know you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones and iPads, located at the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a mobile connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all of our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and radio call and talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors.
We're told to follow our passion and everything else will fall into place. I hope that's what each of you are doing each and every day. Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Money Master Show at TFNN.com, and my passion for technical analysis is what led me to the most fundamental discovery in pattern recognition, the Rhodes Momentum Indicator, market scanner, and trading strategy, a set of tools that identify the momentum and power of the trend, the likes of which have never been seen before, for every market and every time frame. Yes, folks, the trend is your friend, unless you're on the other side. New to technical analysis? This is the place to start. And experienced traders, take advantage of the trend like never before. Experience the power of the Rhodes Momentum Indicator each day, available to subscribers of my newsletter service, Mastering Probability. I guarantee your satisfaction for the next 30 days unconditionally, so there's no risk to you other than being on the wrong side of the trend. Mastering Probability, available on the homepage of TFNN.com. And folks, live with passion.
Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here. What are you doing right now? Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, folks. Today we're talking about mindfulness and the global mindfulness movement, and millions of people are turning to this practice to improve their overall health. In fact, in 2007, in the Time article that is out right now, the mindfulness market was $4 billion. $4 billion.
In 2007.
2007.
Imagine what it is now. Right.
It is unbelievable. It's so thrilling to me because, I mean, you know, as a yoga meditation practitioner for years, I feel like the time is right for this.
Yes.
The state of the world that we talked about,
Right.
it's hectic, it's stressed. You know, people are looking to get healthy. People are spending tons of money on doctor's visits and medical bills. In fact, the Benson Henry Institute reported that 60 to 90% of doctor's visits, of all doctor's visits, are stress-related or due to stress-induced conditions.
And folks, what's so cool about this, check this out, okay? Those big numbers, guess what? It's free.
Yeah, exactly.
What we're talking here is something that's free, okay?
Yeah.
That, you know, that you can do and empower yourself. And that's what's really cool.
It really is.
You know, and we're all going to be different. And no matter, I can tell you this, from having Allie teach me for many years, right? One of the things you always say is that, you know, that whether it's yoga or meditation, that scientifically it's been proven that, guess what, it's good for you. But what's really cool now is that it's everywhere, okay? I remember the first time you said, I'm saying to myself, okay, well, where is that?
Yeah.
I knew I loved it. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I knew I loved it, but I heard that question many times.
Right.
And so, you know, your teacher training, anything else, people say, well, where is that?
Right,
okay?
where are those
and
stats? Who's doing the
you were prepared
measurements?
for it, saying, okay, you can go here. But now, folks, guess what? You know, one click on Google, it's everywhere.
That's right.
And what has happened is that most of the studies that are there are saying, guess what? If you want a more peaceful life, that's the quickest way to do it. And as Allie said, it doesn't mean that we're not going to have problems, because you know, that's it. But guess what? You recognize them and you'll deal with them. And
Yes.
it's not, you know, it's not one of these things that you don't shut the door on a problem. If you shut the door on a problem, guess what? It's a cancer, and it'll go after you. Versus,
Exactly.
And what I've found more than anything throughout my life, no problem is really big. You just look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me what's wrong. Well, look, you know, whether you're talking to yourself, what's wrong? And then you're all right. Because guess what? The tackling of the deal is the biggest part of the whole deal.
It's true. It's true. To you know, a lot of times we tend to shut the door, as you said, on problems, or stuff them down, or pretend they're not there, or, you know, or we do know they're there and we obsess about them, and that's what, you know, we were talking about.
That's worse.
The Buddhists say both of those are examples of having a sticky mind. Either you are, you know, running away from something, pushing it away, which would be aversion, which is also an example of attaching to something. You're attaching to the fear of having that thing in your life, so you're afraid of it rising up. Or it was such a great experience that you are now chasing after it for the rest of your life. And so that would be a type of attachment where, you know, say you have your first bite of chocolate cake. Well, after, you know, 2 chocolate cakes, it's probably not going to be as good as it was after that first bite. So the idea is to be fully present in whatever the experience is, as we said.
And grab it. Grab it right then and there.
And then you have to let it go. You have to let it go. And, you know, again, it just starts with self-awareness. So let's talk about, then, some of those benefits. We've kind of just scratched the surface on what people are getting out of mindfulness. And the list goes on, as Tom said. One of our first shows we did was with 2 meditation experts, 2 of the top leading science researchers here in the nation, who showed how the brain's changing and how genes in our body are changing. I think, you know, if I could choose 3 overarching awesome benefits, the first would be what we talked about before, improved attention, so that you can focus on the tasks of your life and experience them more fully. You know, those conversations with your children. Today, when I was brushing my daughter's hair, getting ready for school, she's 5. I'm not going to get those moments anymore.
No.
I felt myself starting to rush, but because of my mindfulness practice, I thought, okay, Allie, be here. This is adorable. This is amazing, you know? So that would be the first, the improved attention.
And you'll find the ones, what Allie just said about the rushing, that comes very quick. As soon as you get aware of it, you say, oh, no, I'm going to rush. And listen, sometimes you might have to, folks, okay? But at least you'll be aware of it, right?
Yes.
Which is kind of cool.
That's the first step.
Right.
The next big benefit that I think just makes so much sense to me, especially in today's world, is emotional intelligence. Now, this is also a whole science in and of itself, and if you've had a chance, or if you get a chance, you should read Daniel Goleman's book, which was written back in '95, was a New York Times bestseller, and still so applicable to today's world.
And what is emotional intelligence?
Emotional intelligence is technically defined as the way we respond to emotions, both our own as well as those of others.
Okay.
So a good example of this would be, can we experience emotions in a healthy way, or do we get swept up by them, say in the case of rage? Or do they linger too long, that they potentially become chronic, like in the case of depression?
Okay.
So emotional intelligence helps us, one, through that focused mind that's calm and clear at the same time, develop self-awareness. So we start to become aware of emotions as they arise, and we can, just notice that they're there.
Right.
That's the first step. Do you know how many? I know many people in my life who miss that first step.
Right.
They're in traffic. Next thing you know, they're so angry, they're coming through the door, slamming, screaming at people. They missed that step that, traffic is making me angry.
Right.
But once you develop that self-awareness, then you can develop what the next step of EI, or emotional intelligence, known as self-regulation. And then you can learn how to modulate how you're going to respond to that emotion. Say, in the case of a driver who cuts you off in traffic, you might actually, pause and realize it's not worth you getting so upset that you might have an accident.
Because that's going on someone else's trip, folks.
Yeah.
And why do you want to do that?
Exactly.
Right.
And then the third part is through this emotional awareness, first of ourselves, we become aware of others and start to consider the emotions of others. And that develops two really key components that we all need for a better life, and that is empathy and compassion. So again, back to that example of the driver that cuts you off. Maybe you say, maybe they had an emergency. So it's no longer just about you, it's about other people. So, and EI, in Daniel Goleman's book, he says emotional intelligence is actually more important than IQ in determining people's success in life.
You know what's so cool? This is amazing. 3 weeks ago we did a show with Sharon, right?
Yes.
And remember, part of that show, folks, I was telling a story about walking down the street, and every day I walk down the street with Harley, my dog, and I was saying hi to this guy, and he wasn't saying hi, right? But check it out. But at the same point, and I was saying that, okay, this is going to happen. But so what ended up happening the next week, I'm walking down the street, and I start thinking, I says, what if this guy can't talk?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? That is what I think's going on.
Oh, wow.
So now he's waving, he's smiling. And yeah, isn't this a trip?
Yeah.
And I have a feeling what actually ended up happening is that maybe something happened.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm saying to myself, so I'm walking down the street, I'm saying, oh my God, I can't believe that. And that just took more being mindful, as I was saying, okay, because what happens now, I can see him a block away when I'm coming. I'm saying, okay, now what's going to happen?
Right.
So what the story was, folks, I'm walking by, I'm saying hi, and he's just kind of walking. But bottom line, I get the hi now. But I'm realizing that, you know what, because you don't know what other people's problems are.
It's so
But
not
isn't that
always
cool?
about us. Yes, when we start to think of other people, it's interesting how our personal peace and happiness increases when we think about other people.
Yeah.
And, also studies show that empathy and compassion are the two key components which make the best and most effective leaders on this planet. Even in the Time article, they talk about Navy.
That would make sense.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, no, the Navy and the Marines are using, right now, they're getting their head. In fact, they just gave that woman a $3.4 million contract to study it. Because what happens is that it absolutely is focus.
Yeah.
You better be focused.
Well, it helps with that. But they also said in this article that, even people who you would assume would be like these drill sergeant leaders and really tough and rough, studies even show that people respond to military leaders better when they are approachable, when they're likable, and when they're compassionate and interact with people well. That's all emotional intelligence.
And it is... I'm not switching gears, but what definitely doesn't happen, I remember growing up, you'd always tell people the toughest kids were always the nicest kids. No, they were. There is no doubt, folks, okay? You grow up in the city, you'll see it. The guy, you get guys that are tough, but then you get these people that are real, and they're always the nicest people.
Big hearts down deep inside.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time, okay?
Well, the last thing I'll say, we talked about this, is the stress reduction, and that is a huge potential of mindfulness practice. When you start to just take a few minutes every day to slow down, tune in, and be with yourself to calm and clear your mind, your heart rate slows down, you become aware of emotions as they arise, the types of thoughts that you're having behind those emotions, and we can literally start to reverse the stress response mechanism in the body.
Right.
So when that happens, we reduce disease and stress-related disease, which is, as we said, I mean, if you think about those statistics, over half of all doctor's visits.
Stress.
That's already a lot. But up to all but 10% of all doctor's visits are stress-induced.
That's amazing.
It's amazing.
So that means that we put it on ourselves, basically, because
Right.
you put stress on yourself.
Right, totally. And
Like, what is that important that you want to get sick?
that's right.
No, you don't want to get sick. We know no one does this on purpose.
Right. Well, it makes the argument for, being willing to explore these practices,
Right.
because the research is there now, and the benefits are potentially profound. Even with just a little effort every day, one of the studies that I recently read, a Nobel Prize winner in 2012, her name was Elizabeth Blackburn, and I think she was with UCLA, proved that just 12 minutes of yoga meditation a day reduces the aging process, slows the aging process.
I'm on that plan.
That's worth it.
That plan is a beautiful thing.
Every girl needs, this girl needs as much help as she can get. I'll speak for myself. So we'll be right back with Rachel Dack. We're going to be talking about healthy relationships. If you have questions, give us a call, 877-927-6648. See you in a few.
You take a hands-on approach to managing your investment strategy. You're always looking for the next trading opportunity to magnify your perspective. Direction Shares connects sophisticated traders with a powerful array of ETFs from a wide range of asset classes. The markets may go up and down, and you want tools for both sides of the trade. Discover how we can help at DirectionShares.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction Shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction Shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction Shares at 800-851-0511. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors employing dynamic strategies. Investors in the fund should understand the consequences of seeking daily investment results, understand the risk of shorting, and intend to actively monitor and manage their investments. Distributor, Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Who says you can't take it with you? TFNN says you can. With your mobile device and TFNN's live radio streams, TFNN has put it all in the palm of your hands. No special apps to download. No subscription fees for live radio or Tiger TV streams. We say you can.
Now let's go over to the dollar, because the dollar is going to be the generator. It is the generator of basically higher dollar, lower market. And what the dollar has done, and this whole uptrend, folks, has just gone sideways. The way it works, folks, is this.
We say you can. The Tiger Financial News Network. Smart investors and professional traders know you can. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Life is a mystery to be lived, not a problem to be solved. Mindful Living with Allie Ford and Tom O'Brien.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Welcome back to Mindful Living, folks. And we have a specialist on the show with us now who can actually help us all have a good feeling in our relationships. We're joined by Rachel Dack, who is a licensed psychotherapist, nationally certified counselor, and relationship coach who's passionate about helping others achieve positive well-being for healthy, satisfying relationships. And you can find some of her writing on leading dating advice sites like eHarmony and datingadvice.com. Rachel, how are you?
Hi, Allie. Hi, Tom. I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy you're here, Rachel.
We and
Thank you
countless
so much.
others are so happy you're here also. we could all use a little bit more love in our life, Rachel, and we're so happy that you're here to help us talk about that. You know, I know that life can be challenging for couples, so I thought maybe we'd start if you would share with us some of the more common challenges you're seeing for couples today or individuals who are looking to enter relationships.
Sure, absolutely. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. Well, what's happening is there's so many options out there. There's more single people than ever before. People are getting married later. We're getting more highly educated, all these sorts of things. And so what's happening is we have a lot of unrealistic expectations that we're bringing into relationships once we're forming them. And people are really not enjoying being single, and they really want to check off this box like, I need a husband, I need a wife, and they're really missing out on meaningful connection when they're dating, which is exactly how you achieve a healthy relationship. So definitely one of them is unrealistic expectations. And also once they're in relationships, again, as you all talked about, a lot of times we're living on autopilot. So we have this great guy, this great woman, whatever it may be, and we're not really doing much to keep it satisfying, and that's where mindfulness really comes in. So those are a few of the different things that I'm seeing.
What are the expectations that people have?
Well, a lot of times we go in wanting to be fixed. We want to be loved. You know, we want somebody to acknowledge these parts of ourselves that, you know, we're not really paying enough attention to, and we're bringing a lot of emotional wounds into relationships. And so mindfulness is also a way for us to become more self-aware and really own that so that we can be more satisfied with our partner. Our partner's not there to fix us. Our partner's not there to heal our past. Our partner's there to engage with us now, and we want to come in as healthy as possible to our relationships, and also once we have them, keep that health.
Oh, I love that you said that, because it's true. In relationships, two halves do not make a whole. Two wholes make a whole.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you. I really, truly believe that the number one tool we have to create and maintain a healthy relationship is our own health, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to love yourself first before you can love anyone. There's no doubt.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big deal in that.
So, Rachel, when you are working with individuals and or couples, what types of mindfulness tips, or how are you introducing them to mindfulness in your practice?
Well, a lot of different ways. It depends. I mean, I guess an example I'll give you, and I think you all sort of touched on this a little bit, but just really creating mindful check-ins in your relationship. So an example is, you know, your partner doesn't take out the trash. They're supposed to. You wish they would do this every day, and you come home, and you are just fuming, angry, you want to scream, you want to curse, you want to nag, and if you're on autopilot, that's what you'll do. Right. And so a lot of times I'm helping couples and individuals who are starting to date really check in with themselves. You know, does it serve you well? Does it serve your partner well? Does it serve your relationship well to scream, curse, and nag? Or can you really check in with yourself and create space so that your mind isn't spinning out of control all over the place? You can control the negativity, get back into the moment, and then you can really make an intentional decision on how to best respond to your partner. And a lot of that is really gaining that emotional awareness that you both really touched on earlier.
Yes, it's so true. And let's face it, a lot of people, as you say, run on autopilot. They're not, they don't have the self-awareness of the emotions rising, and then before you know it, you're caught up in that anger burst that is just so damaging for everyone and the energy around everyone. So taking that,
absolutely.
Taking that a step further, let's say that you have decided from this place of clarity, you have to deliver some honest news, if you will, something that does need to be addressed. What's your best suggestion for bringing up those uncomfortable topics with your partner?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, you really want to create safety emotionally, physically. You want to make sure that, like you all also touched on, that you're really tuning out all those distractions. You're unplugging. You're creating quality time together so that you can really address the issues and really owning where you're coming from emotionally and making sure that you're in the present while you're talking. But also, I just like that idea of creating a lot of safety, you know, making sure that you're really in the moment. You're listening to your partner versus getting very defensive about what you're going to say next. You're making sure that you're validating each other and understanding each other, and it's really important to keep that going. And especially, you know, a lot of times people will start dating, they're happy, and then they're married, the whole thing, blah, 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 but they're really not tuning into each other, and so communication is key there.
Yes.
And that's really, really important. The other thing I see a lot of just in terms of dating is people are not paying attention to what's happening on the date. They're not in the moment. They're looking to, you know, check off if he has a good job or she's hot or whatever it may be, and they're really not forming healthy relationships from the start. That's one of the things I'm really passionate about doing with my clients in my practice.
You know, so let's talk about that a little, because you started the program off saying there are so many single people. So in that context, and of course you have internet dating, okay, and, you know, whether it's males or females, they're lined up. You know,
yeah.
So, you know, and if folks, if you don't understand that, you know, just jump on one of those sites. So how do you sort through that?
Yeah, how do you attract the right person into your life?
Well, the number one way you attract the right person is through your own confidence and your own health. What you believe you can achieve in a relationship is exactly what you're going to get. So the energy you put out there is radiated right back to you. And one of the things about online dating is there's a lot of great people on there, and they may look good. But again, if you're just going on that sort of resume, what they look like on paper type of thing, you're really missing being present with what you're feeling. And so I really like to help my clients consciously date, that's what I call it, but also really use their intuition. So when you're on a date, it's really important to pick up on how you're actually feeling, not just what he says or what he looks like or any of that, but what are you feeling in the moment that attracts you to this person.
Yes.
And really, really focus on that, because a lot of people aren't they're dating all the time. Anybody can get a date, but it's that quality of the connection that I really think is important to look for.
Definitely, and as we keep saying, mindfulness practice would be so helpful for that, because you're in touch with those emotions and able to be aware of them, arising within you, so you don't ignore them. That's so helpful, Rachel.
Thank you.
Well, what gets interesting here is that before I start the program, Rachel, I read these 4 agreements all the time, and one of those agreements, always thinking with your heart versus your head, and that I expect exactly what you're talking about, because your heart, I've never seen your heart lead you wrong. Your head can lead you wrong, but if in fact you can feel it and you trust those feelings, your heart won't lead you wrong. Doesn't mean it won't get broken. Doesn't mean it won't get broken. But it won't lead you wrong in the context of how you think the situation is.
Yeah, with your emotions.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I love, you have so much helpful information on your website, and for those listening, actually, for more information on Rachel and her blog and her posts and her services, you can find her website at racheldack.com. And Rachel, one of the things I saw on your website that I just loved was you stated that you try to help people understand what it means to date consciously. What are some of the ways that you help people understand that? I love that.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, so it's really about self-awareness and knowing yourself, and really being empowered to go out and achieve what you're looking for, and also understanding, and you all touched on this earlier so well, that life is not pretty in every single moment. You may have a dark moment being single. You may have, some bad relationship experiences in the past, whatever it may be, but to really accept that that's part of life, and to not let that lead you, in a different direction when you're really looking for love. And I think what happens is I get a lot of clients who come in and they're saying, Rachel, I'm ready for a relationship. How do I get one? And what I notice after talking to them is that they're really not ready, because they're stuck in the past, or they're viewing themselves in such a negative way, or other stuff is going wrong. They're having their own anxieties and insecurities, and we all have them. But what's really important is to bring your own health into the relationship, and to really attract a great partner that way.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is about checking in and really slowing the dating process down. Like I said, people want to check that marriage box really, really quickly, and a lot of times we have societal pressure to do so, but that might not be what's right. So a lot of conscious dating is really about, making sure that you're doing what's right for you, you're following your intuition. I do a lot of mindfulness stuff about actual dating tips, what you can do on a date, and really come from a real, being healthy and feeling really good about yourself, and that makes you an awesome date and an awesome partner. Let me tell you, there's nothing like confidence and self-awareness. That is how you get what you're looking for. And mindfulness is such a great way to get us there.
True. And you're so much more fun.
It is so much fun, let me tell you. Yes, and we feel so much more empowered when we're in the moment. That is where the action is.
Definitely. We believe in ourselves. We feel interesting. We feel confident, as you said. We feel sexy, which is another important point we should focus on.
Yes, another day maybe.
Intimacy in relationships.
Another day. This program's got to go on for a few hours here.
Exactly.
The aspect of, and you brought up a great point. Now, I call it having a clean relationship, meaning that if you're actually going to settle down, what I've seen, is that I know the difference, and there has to be a time frame in between all of that you're just settled yourself, meaning before I go on a date, and then I'll tell you about a date I'm on right now. I'm not kidding. I'm on a 7-week date right now.
Aww.
So I am. I'm on a 7-week date.
That's pretty.
It's pretty sick. we're either over the top or insane. We already know that.
Fun.
It is fun. It is fun. Okay, but in that context, my question to you is: how did you come to that conclusion that you have to be clean before you're ready for something like that?
Well, and just so we're clear, I'm not saying that you don't have to be completely clean. We all have our stuff, but it's really about
I understand that.
owning it.
Clean probably wasn't the right word, but go ahead. Sorry.
Well, do you want to ask your question in a different way?
I think honest, like you said, coming to the relationship, you mean with your, okay with your stuff, because bringing that, that stuff into the relationship, which I so get, and, as a female, I get this. A lot of times we look to our partners for that fulfillment that we're lacking inside of ourselves.
Right.
Is that what you're saying, Rachel?
Yeah, and also, I mean, to really know what triggers you. We all have a past. It can feel very heavy sometimes. But, an example would be, once you're in a relationship, like, this is an example from, a previous client. She was in a great relationship, but constantly wanted to check her boyfriend's phone. Constantly. And it was eating her up inside. And we really looked at that. Is this her own insecurities, her own anxieties, from the past, from the present, or is her partner really doing something that warrants this need to check? And I think really being able to differentiate between that, what's yours, what belongs to the relationship, and really how to do that together. And again, I'm keep going back to this word, creating mindful check-ins, so that you're really, not just yelling at your partner, or not just checking someone's phone, or not just cheating, or whatever you may want to do when you're in that insecure, lonely, needy place, but to really own your stuff and to be honest about that in a relationship. Everybody has their stuff, I promise you.
Yeah. Oh, I can relate to that same example. It's interesting because those are, sort of memories that are lingering from past experiences that may have most of the time have absolutely nothing to do with your current experience. And yet, you're stuck in that repetitive behavior. You bring that to the relationship, and it's bad energy. It's negative behavior, and does not have very good outcome either. But let me ask you this: when we're talking about leading with your heart, and let's say you're getting an intuition that something's not just right, and but you can't necessarily put your finger on it. What do?
You keep trusting it. It is such a hard lesson. Trust me, I've learned it a million times before in my own life, but your intuition is so incredibly valuable. And when, intuition happens when you're in the present. And what happens also is that if you're constantly in fear mode or something like that, you actually miss your intuition. So you want to be really open to all sorts of experiences, and so that you can really touch, so that it can come to you. And when it does, it's really important to trust it. It may be very unpleasant. It may also be very uncomfortable. And, sometimes we have to say goodbye to people. If you're on a date and, there's a lot of good there, but your intuition is that, that it's just sort of tapping at you, or you're feeling it in your stomach and it feels uncomfortable, it's really important to, to be authentic in that. And it's okay. But it's a very hard thing to accept sometimes because we don't want to.
It's true.
And there's no one that's wrong there. That
makes it even harder.
It is. There's no we are who we are. There's not that one of you are wrong. It's okay. Well, it's not there. If it's not there, then I think that couples have a huge problem with that. I mean, you can see it every day. You can see it. You out to a restaurant, they're sitting down eating, and no one's talking. It's like, oh my God, it's terrible.
It is. I know.
Yeah.
Or when you see two people on their phones at the dinner table. That's one of the things we were talking about, unplug from the outside world and plug into yourself and into your partner.
Yes, and really don't take your relationship for granted. That's a really big thing too.
Yeah. Yes.
So hey, how'd you get so smart and you're so young? I'm looking at your picture here. Talk to me about that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I really do.
That's a serious question. So how'd you learn so much about relationships and, talk to us?
I am just so engaged with my life. I have my own mindfulness practice. I've done a lot of learning, made a lot of mistakes myself, and I appreciate it. I'm a little older than I look. I'll put that out there. I get that all the time. Thank you so much.
Another huge benefit of mindfulness practice.
That's right. I like that.
And exercise and good sleep and taking care of your body, your emotional health, all of that good stuff is very, very important to our relationship.
Rachel, what's your opinion of online dating?
I think online dating is great. I think it works better for some people than others. Again, you want to be really careful that you're not just checking off those boxes or dating, too many people at once or, whatever it is. You really want to do it at a pace that works for you. So if you know that dating 3 people at the same time and going out 3 times a week isn't going to work, then slow down the pace of online dating. There's a lot of options out there. The other thing is you have to be really okay with being rejected. It's so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. But it's not all personal. And what happens is it gets really, really hard. So really do what works for you. I think online dating is great for some people, and I've seen it not work for others. So it's really about tuning into tuning into what works for you.
True. Well, I would say, one last question. Give us maybe 2-3 tips for couples right now who are listening this, mindfulness practices that they can incorporate together right now to improve their relationship.
Sure. I think we touched on a few. Another one I would say is just be spontaneous. It's so easy to get stuck in that rut. You have a good relationship, or maybe it's good enough, and then you add in busy schedules and kids and travel, whatever it may be, sort of all the tasks of life. And so I would really say just try to be spontaneous and be in the moment. Change it up. If you know you like a certain food, try a new restaurant with that type. Go see movies, plan a trip, but really do something that creates meaningful connection together so that you can keep it. Another one is have sex. I have to be honest with you. It's very important for a healthy relationship.
Go on.
It also gets you back in the moment.
It does. It really fosters that connection that's so important.
Yes, and like I said earlier, another one just with that example about the taking out the trash, to really, really check in before you communicate and really figure out what is your intention, for talking to your partner, about a certain subject, and how can you all look to move together, to move forward as a team versus separate eyes as enemies. And keep taking care of yourself. So important.
It's so important. Well, we will definitely heed that advice, and I think it's important to note you can, as you said, approach your relationships with the eyes of a beginner. And, as you said, avoid that, or if you find yourself falling into that routine and treating
Get off that couch.
Yeah, treating that partner like, you see them every day like they're not changing. I mean, a basic tenet of mindfulness is that everything and everyone is always changing. And so to look at your partner, as you said, with new eyes and mix it up, spontaneous, do something different at dinner or in the bedroom. I think it's all really good advice. And just take care of yourself, really. I think that's a great tip that we miss when we're working with couples, but it's so important to keep taking care of yourself so that you're not just looking at your partner to create your own happiness.
Yeah, that's saying a lot about the relationship, too. There's no doubt.
Oh, yes. It's true that you care enough.
Because if you have a partner, you want to be around, they want to be around, everyone wants to be around.
Right.
And the spontaneity is huge.
Yeah. Keep it healthy. Well, Rachel, we want to thank you so much for your time today. And again, folks, for those of you listening, please visit Rachel's website, racheldack.com. And Rachel, we hope you have a lovely evening. We're going to have you back. We need to talk more about intimacy next time. All right.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks for having me, you all. Take good care tonight.
Have a great
care. Mindful Living listeners, join us again next week for more tips on how to get healthy and feel good. Live your life to the fullest. Thanks again for joining us. Tweet us at TFNN.com or visit us at TFNN.com. We'll see you next time.
Have a great one, folks.